You're standing in the grocery store meat aisle right now, aren't you? Maybe scrolling through your phone while deciding between those suspiciously bright red ground beef packages. Well, stop. Put the meat down. What you don't know about those innocent-looking packages could literally kill you. In 2025, antibiotic-resistant superbugs aren't just a theoretical threat anymore. They're in your refrigerator. They're on your dinner plate. And if you're shopping at certain grocery chains, you might as well be serving your family a side of potentially lethal bacteria with that bargain steak. Every year, more than 660,900 Americans become ill with antibiotic-resistant Salmonella and Campylobacter infections, according to the CDC. Think that's someone else's problem? Think again. A significant portion of these illnesses are directly traced back to the animal agriculture sector that supplies your local grocery store's meat department. I'm about to tell you which 8 major grocery chains in America are selling you meat laced with the highest levels of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, chemical additives, and questionable processing practices. Chains where cost-cutting and corner-cutting trump your family's health. Chains where that bargain ribeye might end up being the most expensive purchase of your life once you factor in hospital bills. But first, let me explain exactly what you're up against when you unwrap that plastic-sealed package of chicken thighs or ground beef from the wrong store. The antibiotics crisis isn't coming, it's here, and your local meat counter is ground zero. Dr. Lance Price, director of the Antibiotic Resistance Action Center at George Washington University, puts it bluntly. The type of penicillin that is used on the farm, amoxicillin, is the same one we give to our kids to treat ear and respiratory infections. It's the number one antibiotic given to kids each year, and we're squandering it by using it on the farm. Now here's the shocking reality you need to understand. The vast majority of antibiotics sold in the United States aren't even prescribed to humans, they're pumped into farm animals, the very same animals that end up shrink-wrapped in your grocery cart. Why is this happening? Simple economics. Antibiotics make animals grow faster and help them survive the filthy, overcrowded conditions of factory farms. It's cheaper to medicate healthy animals prophylactically than to give them proper space and sanitation. But bacteria are clever little organisms. They evolve, they adapt, and now they're winning. A comprehensive study published in Environmental Health Perspectives examined retail meat samples across the United States and found alarming rates of multi-drug-resistant organisms contaminating our food supply. The researchers didn't mince words. Every time we use antibiotics, we help bacteria develop resistance. In addition to the direct risk of infection from contaminated meat, resistant bacteria can spread their resistance genes to other bacteria in the environment and in our bodies. So that innocent-looking chicken breast, it might contain bacteria that laugh off the very same antibiotics your doctor would prescribe if you get sick. And this isn't some far-fetched scenario, it's already happening in hospitals across America right now. In October 2022, a coalition of public health, animal welfare and food safety groups released the damning Superbugs in Stock report. The findings were shocking. Of America's top 12 grocery chains, 8 received an F grade for their antibiotic policies and meat sourcing practices. Let me repeat that. 80 major chains failed when it came to protecting you from dangerous antibiotic-resistant bacteria in the meat they sell. The highest grade awarded, a measly C. That's right. Not a single major grocery chain in America deserved better than average marks for their efforts to combat one of the most serious public health threats of our time. So which chains should you avoid at all costs in 2025? Let's count them down, and I'll explain exactly why your health depends on steering clear of their meat departments. 8. Kroger. The antibiotic addiction. Starting our countdown at number 8 is Kroger, America's largest supermarket chain by revenue. With over 2,700 stores operating under various banners including Ralph's, Dillon's, and Fred Meyer, their scale is massive. So is their impact on public health. While Kroger has made token efforts to reduce antibiotic use in some of their store-brand chicken products, their beef and pork policies remain woefully inadequate. As Kenny Torella of Vox reported, some of the lack of progress in beef and pork comes down to the simple fact that pigs and cattle are raised differently than chickens. Cattle, which can live up to 3 years before slaughter, are routinely fed a diet they were never evolved to digest, leading to liver abscesses that are prevented with, you guessed it, more antibiotics. Kroger's meat suppliers continue this dangerous practice while the company makes hollow promises about monitoring the situation. The CIADRAP report found that Kroger's antibiotic reduction efforts have been minimal and largely focused on public relations rather than substantive change. Their Simple Truth brand might sound wholesome, but the truth is far from simple when it comes to what's actually in that meat. The next time you're thinking about picking up a steak at Kroger, ask yourself, is saving a few dollars worth contributing to the creation of superbugs that could someday make common infections untreatable? Is it worth risking your family's health? 7. Albertsons. Behind the pretty packaging. Number 7 on our list is Albertsons Companies, which operates under names like Safeway, Vons, and Jewel Osco. This grocery giant received a failing grade in the Superbugs in stock report, and with good reason. Albertsons has made vague commitments about reducing antibiotics in their supply chain, but their actual implementation has been minimal. Their stores continue to stock meat from suppliers who routinely use antibiotics for growth promotion, a practice condemned by the World Health Organization and virtually every public health authority. But antibiotics aren't the only problem with Albertsons meat. Consumer reports have consistently found higher than average rates of salmonella contamination in ground beef products from Albertsons' own stores. This isn't just about food poisoning, it's about potentially deadly antibiotic-resistant salmonella. A particularly concerning study from environmental health perspectives found that retail meat samples were frequently contaminated with bacteria carrying genes for resistance to critically important antibiotics, the last resort drugs doctors use when common antibiotics fail. Albertsons' response: more colorful packaging and feel-good marketing about quality. When their corporate executives talk about customer expectations, they seem more concerned with how the meat looks in the case than what invisible dangers might be lurking inside. 6. Ahold Delhaize Grade C meat for Grade A prices. Coming in at number 6 is Ahold Delhaize, the parent company of Food Lion giant Hannaford and Stop and Shop. They earned a slightly better grade than our previous entries, a C in the Superbugs report, but that's hardly cause for celebration. As the report noted, Ahold Delhaize has meaningful policy language but provides a shocking lack of clear information on how much of their meat and poultry currently complies with their own stated standards. In other words, they talk a good game but can't, or won't, prove they're actually following through. What's particularly galling about Ahold Delhaize stores is that they charge premium prices for meat that's barely average in terms of safety standards. Their store brands like Nature's Promise suggest a higher quality product, but the reality is far less impressive. A former meat department employee at Stop and Shop who requested anonymity told me the organic label doesn't mean what customers think it means. The standards are so watered down now, and the oversight is minimal. People are paying extra for what they believe is healthier meat, but the difference is mostly marketing. In the past, when bacterial resistance made an infection unresponsive to standard antibiotics, doctors had backup options. But as the World Animal Protection Report warns, now resistance is spreading faster than the development of new antibiotics, making treatment difficult and in some cases impossible. Remember that the next time you're tempted by a Nature's Promise package at your local Food Lion or Stop and Shop. 5. Walmart, America's largest purveyor of problematic protein. In the 5th worst offender is the retail behemoth Walmart. With more grocery sales than any other company in America, their impact on public health can't be overstated, and unfortunately that impact has largely been negative. Walmart received a failing grade in the Superbugs report, with researchers noting their minimal efforts to address antibiotic overuse in their meat supply chain. While the company has made some progress with chicken, their beef and pork suppliers continue to use antibiotics at alarming rates. What makes Walmart particularly problematic is their sheer size and their ruthless cost-cutting pressure on suppliers. When Walmart demands lower prices, meat producers cut corners, often in ways that compromise safety and increase reliance on antibiotics to keep animals alive in substandard conditions. The CIADRAP report highlighted that grocery stores like Walmart, where roughly 50% of meat products sold in the United States are bought, are another venue where pressure can be applied to reduce antibiotic use. Yet Walmart has largely resisted using its enormous purchasing power to drive positive change. Instead, they've focused on cosmetic improvements, better packaging, more attractive displays, while the actual meat inside remains problematic. Their great value brand might save you money today, but the societal costs of antibiotic resistance are incalculable. 4. Target. Aiming low, when it comes to meat quality, Target earned a C grade in the Superbugs report, the highest grade awarded but still nothing to brag about. Despite their slightly better performance compared to competitors, Target's meat department remains a source of serious concern. While Target has made more public commitments than many competitors regarding antibiotic reduction, particularly in poultry, implementation remains spotty at best. Their beef and pork policies lag significantly behind their chicken standards. What's particularly troubling about Target's meat is the disconnect between their wellness-focused brand image and the reality of what they're selling. Target markets itself as a destination for health-conscious consumers, yet continues to sell meat from animals routinely treated with antibiotics critical for human medicine. The Environmental Health Perspective study found that retail meat samples, including those from stores like Target, were frequently contaminated with multi-drug-resistant organisms. These aren't just any bacteria, they're superbugs that can transfer resistance genes to other bacteria, potentially creating new and more dangerous pathogens. Target's Good and Gather brand might look appealing with its clean, minimalist packaging, but what's inside could be contributing to a public health crisis that claims thousands of lives annually. 3. Publix. Southern Hospitality, Northern Hemisphere Antibiotics. Number 3 on our list is Publix, a chain beloved in the Southeast for its customer service but deserving scrutiny for its meat sourcing practices. Publix received a failing grade in the Superbugs report, with researchers highlighting their lack of transparency and minimal efforts to reduce antibiotic use. What makes Publix particularly concerning is the contrast between their carefully cultivated image of quality and the reality of their meat supply chain. Their stores are immaculate, their service legendary, but their commitment to addressing antibiotic resistance in their meat products remains woefully inadequate. Publix has made virtually no public commitments to reducing antibiotic use in cattle, despite the clear public health risks. Their pork suppliers continue routine antibiotic use practices that have been banned in other countries for years. As one meat industry consultant who works with grocery chains and requested anonymity told me, companies like Publix know exactly what's going on with antibiotics in the meat supply. They have the data. They just don't want consumers to have that same information because it would force them to make changes that might affect their profit margins. When resistance makes a bacterial infection unresponsive to standard antibiotics, there used to be backup options. But as the World Animal Protection Report warns, now resistance is spreading faster than the development of new antibiotics, making treatment difficult and in some cases impossible. 2. Trader Joe's, the health halo hiding harmful practices. In second place is Trader Joe's, a chain that has masterfully created a healthy, eco-friendly image while failing to address one of the most serious public health threats in their meat department. Their grade in the Superbugs report, a resounding F. Trader Joe's complete lack of transparency about their meat sourcing is particularly troubling given their health-conscious customer base. Despite their carefully crafted image as a more ethical alternative to conventional grocery stores, Trader Joe's has made no meaningful public commitments regarding antibiotic use in meat production. Their store brands offer no information about antibiotic use, and the company has consistently refused to provide details about their meat suppliers or their standards. This secrecy should raise serious red flags for consumers who believe they're making a healthier choice by shopping at Trader Joe's. As Dr. Megan Davis from the Environmental Health Perspective study points out, antibiotics are necessary to treat bacterial infections and maintain animals' well-being. However, antibiotic use and misuse selects for antimicrobial-resistant bacteria and multi-drug-resistant organisms. Trader Joe's customers pay premium prices for meat they believe is higher quality, but without transparency about antibiotic use, they may be unknowingly contributing to a growing public health crisis. 1. ALDI, the worst offender. Topping our list as the absolute worst place to buy meat in 2025 is ALDI, the rapidly expanding discount grocery chain that has been aggressively opening new locations across America. ALDI received a failing grade in the Superbugs report and has made virtually no effort to address antibiotic overuse in their meat supply chain. What makes ALDI particularly dangerous is their combination of rock-bottom prices and complete lack of transparency. Their business model is built on extreme cost-cutting, putting enormous pressure on suppliers to produce meat as cheaply as possible, often at the expense of safety and responsible antibiotic use. ALDI's meat is not only problematic from an antibiotic resistance perspective, but has also been the subject of numerous recalls and safety concerns. Their suppliers have repeatedly been linked to outbreaks of foodborne illness, including antibiotic-resistant strains of Salmonella and E. coli. The Environmental Health Perspective study found alarming rates of contamination in discount retail meat samples, with researchers noting that every year more than 660,900 Americans become ill with antibiotic-resistant Salmonella and Campylobacter infections. A portion of these illnesses are traced back to the animal agriculture sector. When you buy meat at ALDI, you're not just saving money, you're potentially bringing home bacteria that could make common infections like urinary tract infections or skin infections untreatable. Is that bargain really worth it? What you can do to protect yourself and your family. So where should you buy meat in 2025? If eliminating meat altogether isn't an option for you, consider these safer alternatives. Local farmers markets. Meet the people who raise the animals. Ask questions about antibiotic use. Build relationships with producers who prioritize responsible practices. Community-supported agriculture (CSA). Many small farms offer meat shares that provide regular deliveries of responsibly raised meat. Specialty butcher shops. Professional butchers typically source from smaller, more responsible producers and can tell you exactly where their meat comes from. Online meat delivery services. Companies like Crowd Cow, ButcherBox, and Porter Road work directly with farms that follow strict protocols regarding antibiotic use. Grocery chains with verified programs. If you must shop at a conventional grocery store, look for products specifically labeled as raised without antibiotics and verified by a third-party certification. Beyond where you shop, take these precautions. Handle raw meat as the biohazard it potentially is. Use separate cutting boards, wash hands thoroughly, and clean all surfaces that contact raw meat. Cook meat thoroughly. Heat kills bacteria, including antibiotic-resistant strains. Use a meat thermometer to ensure proper cooking temperatures. Freeze meat promptly. Don't leave meat in your refrigerator for extended periods. Bacteria can multiply even at refrigerator temperatures. Read labels carefully. Look for specific claims about antibiotic use, not vague terms like natural, which are essentially meaningless. Demand change. Contact your representatives to support legislation limiting antibiotic use in agriculture and requiring more transparency from meat producers and retailers. The uncomfortable reality is that our cheap meat comes at an incalculable cost. As Keydrap reports, grocery stores could do much more to prevent antibiotic overuse in meat, but most are failing miserably. Every time you shop the meat department at one of these 8 worst offenders, you're voting with your dollars for a system that prioritizes profit over public health. You're supporting practices that medical experts have been warning against for decades. You're potentially bringing dangerous superbugs into your home. Forks over knives. Com reports that antibiotic-resistant bacteria has been found in the majority of supermarket meat, with researchers finding that the type of penicillin that is used on the farm, amoxicillin, is the same one we give to our kids to treat ear and respiratory infections. According to the comprehensive study in Environmental Health Perspectives, multi-drug-resistant organisms are alarmingly common in retail meat samples. Researchers found that every year more than 660,900 Americans become ill with antibiotic-resistant Salmonella and Campylobacter infections. A portion of these illnesses are traced back to the animal agriculture sector. As Vox reports, big meat just can't quit antibiotics, particularly in beef and pork production where animals live longer and production systems make antibiotic-free raising more challenging. The status quo is unsustainable. In the words of World Animal Protection, in the past when resistance made a bacterial infection unresponsive to the standard antibiotic prescribed, there was often another drug that could be relied on to work. But now, resistance is spreading faster than the development of new antibiotics, making treatment difficult and in some cases impossible. The choice is yours. Will you continue to support grocery chains that fail to address one of the most serious public health threats of our time, or will you demand better? For yourself, for your family, and for future generations. The superbugs are coming. In fact, they're already here, in those innocent-looking packages behind the glass at your local meat counter. The question is, what are you going to do about it?